This here is the picture of Sanji I drew, brothers and sisters. If you like this type of drawing and more, remember you can follow me over on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, and even that other one that we like called the Twitter.
One Piece, chapter 187. Stalemate.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the action-packed, awesomely written, cleverly woven tale of One Piece. Our last chapter saw us with, of course, us finishing up Volume 20, and now here we are on Volume 21, which is kind of cool, because actually, here, let's see if I can pull it out over here. I have it next to me, and put them next to one another. Volume 21 and 22 are actually very cool. They wind up, if you can get in there and see that, they wind up making
they're backwards,
a
you
very
dummy.
cool picture of Baroque works against, of course, you know, the straw hats. And I just...
Yeah, now you notice.
Actually, I'm sorry. I had them wrong and backwards for some reason. Jesus. Everything in the camera to me is backwards, so I'm looking at it and I'm going, what the
Even your hat?
Anyway, it's obviously all the straw hats versus all the Baroque works agents. Very, very cool stuff. But anyway, to dive into it, this is the first chapter, of course, of Volume 21. The last volume, of course, left us with Usopp and Chopper finally having defeated Miss Merry Christmas and Mr. Four. And that's how, you know, things left off over there. Of course, Usopp was badly wounded. Chopper was obviously, you know, scared for him, and we don't know how that's what's gonna happen with that. But we're away from that for right now. So this chapter starts out, and this chapter is very much the beginning of the Sanji and Mr. 2 fight. But it starts out with Koza and the rebels fighting within the city. You know, one of Koza's subordinates is worried about the gunshot wound that he took back in Nanohana. He's still fighting very hard, and he's like, I got no time for that now. I need a horse. I need to get to the palace. I need to get to North Gate, where the palace is, in the northern part of the city, because, you know, I'm going to give the king one last chance to make things right, or to surrender, or what have you. So then we go and we see at the North Gate, it winds up being Vivi, who is cloaked, and she comes, well, she's cloaked and not really disguised so much. I mean, she is, because she's trying to get through town without any other Baroque works agents finding her. But as she approaches, the palace guards are like, hey, miss, you know, all civilians got to clear out, and she pulls the hood back, and they're like, Princess Vivi, you know, and she's like, take me to Chaka. So that's kind of where we leave that. Then the next bulk of the chapter is Sanji and Mr. 2 fighting, and with Mr. 2's Okama karate, or his, whatever you want to call it. In the book it says, "Oh, come my way," but I know I've heard that it's Okama, and it's like transvestite, that it's whatever. The bottom line is that Sanji and Mr. 2 are very evenly matched. There's several pages that go back and forth that, although beautifully drawn, not a lot happens one way or the other. They are very, very evenly matched. It seems like, you know, Mr. 2 goes and comes at Sanji for a period of time with a bunch of different moves, and Sanji's just dodging and countering and blocking and everything else. And then Sanji goes and then they have a little talk where they have a little dialogue. And then Sanji goes to come at him and goes and pulls out a bunch of his, they're basically French word moves, you know, collier and coup and all these other sort of things. And I think it's meant for, you know, obviously to be like cooking type terms, you know, and we all know that French cooking is regarded as one of the, well, I'm not even going to get into that argument right now, but in the cooking community, in the cooking world, from what I have heard, French cooking is considered to be very, very good, and very difficult and very intricate. It's very highly regarded, I guess, amongst different ethnicities of cooking. So, like I said, we'll just leave it at that. But he uses all these different cool French words to go and, you know, and proceed all of his moves. And he's kind of like amazed that, you know, that Mr. 2 is dodging him. So they wind up coming together in one thing where, you know, they both pull a move to each other, this mutton mallet and this other thing that Mr. 2 does, and they basically both just kind of offshoot each other and both go flying back, you know, and he's just like, I can't believe it, he countered my this, and so, like, again, very, very evenly matched. So Mr. 2 then goes and he comes up and he's like, yeah, well, you know what, though? I have the power of the clone fruit. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to pull out a bunch of different, like, facial parts, like nose, eyes, ears, whatever, head, of different people that I've seen, because it's the clone fruit is only limited to my memory, right? So, you know, basically anything he's ever seen or touched or whatever, he can imitate, emulate different parts of it. So he goes through this series of just a bunch of different, like, goofy things or whatever, and he's like, and you'll start dying of laughter so bad that'll give me the upper hand, right, to take you out. So he does this, you know, for a couple of pages, I don't know, a page and a half, and then Sanji's, and he's just like, what, no effect? And Sanji's like, listen, dude, it doesn't matter what you do with that nonsense. You're still you, you know? I don't care. And he goes, that was 90% you anyway, dude. And he goes and nails him, you know, and hits him. And then he's like, oh, well, if that doesn't faze you, then, you know, maybe the face of one of your friends will. So he goes and Mr. 2 changes his face to Usopp's face, right? And he's like, you wouldn't hit your friend, would you? And this and that. Right as he's saying that, Sanji's just like, I mean, just jacks him with the foot right in the jaw, right? And, and he's just like, I can't believe that. How could you do that? How would you hit, you know, how could you hit the visage of one of your friends, you know? And Sanji's like, dude, no matter what you do, right, you're still the same. He's basically saying you're still the same D-bag no matter what, right? Because he goes, and then he says something kind of profound. He's like, it's what's on the inside, you know? It doesn't matter what you do to physically change your appearance, who you look like, what you do, whatever. It's not going to bother me. And he says this. And then he says this profound thing about it's what's on the inside. And I'm thinking, man, I'm really proud of you, Sanji. That's my boy, Sanji. That's my boy. And that's what I'm thinking, right? And then in the very next page, Mr. 2's like, oh, really? Well, I see that has no effect. And all of a sudden he changes into, and you can see like the way the thing is that Mr. 2 is in the foreground. He's closer, and Sanji's looking at him, and he's further in the background. So you can see like the side and back of the face, and he changes into a female face, and then it shows Sanji, and he's like, you know, and he's just got that crazy cartoon Love-Struck thing where his eyeballs turn into hearts, and, you know, he's just like, he's basically just head over heels because we all know that he's a ladies' man. So, an aspiring pimp to be, I guess. And, or male gigolo, whatever you want to classify him as. I would say future male gigolo, though, is what he's going for. But, so he says this great profound thing, and then goes and just flushes it right down the toilet in the next panel, and goes and shows that he's still, you know, he can still be wooed or, you know, go gaga over women, because then the last panel of the page, or the last panel of the page, I was going to say last panel of the chapter, and I would have been wrong, and then, anyways, the last panel of the page is him changing into, and it looks like Nami's face that he is, so, and we all know that Sanji's got the hots for Nami, so, then we go and we get, and to actually wrap up the ending part of the chapter, the last few pages are Vivi there's buzz going on, of course, in the palace that Vivi's back, you know, and oh, it couldn't have come at a greater time, and whether they're being sarcastic or not, who cares? It's Princess Vivi, right? So she has finally made it back after years and years of being an undercover Baroque Works agent to come back and save Alabasta. For some reason I was going to say Alubarna. That's where she's at, the actual capital in Alabasta. But, so Vivi goes and she's been taken to Chaka, and Chaka's just like, no, that's crazy. Are you kidding? We can't do that. That'll destroy. And she's like, destroy what? She's like, destroy this kingdom? Destroy these people? That's not going to do that. She goes, what's destroying them right now is letting them fight. Those are all citizens. That's Alabasta. Everybody out there that's fighting each other, that's all Alabasta. It's akin to a civil war. For those of you that are outside of the U.S., I'm sure you've read about or heard about it, but a couple hundred years ago here, well, not even a couple hundred years ago, we wound up having a civil war. And basically, you know, parts of the country, it was like brother pitted against brother, depending on where you lived and whether you decided to be with the Union or the Confederacy. And it was terrible. It was terrible. You know, hundreds of thousands of lives lost. And again, many of them were family and friends. You know, people that had known each other and were very close and were tasked to kill each other for, you know, what side they believed in. So this is a similar instance, but and akin to the Civil War, it really is unnecessary. The Civil War, and I'm not going to get too deep into history, though, was you know, several of the things that triggered it were high up political issues that didn't have as much to do with the people as it was the leaders that were putting those people in place to follow them. So we'll just leave that at that. That's certainly a debate for another time, and you know, and certainly don't want to, you know, don't want to offend anybody with my lack of or what little knowledge I do have on historical events. But as far as I'm concerned, everything here in One Piece, in Alabasta, of course, we know it's all been caused by Sir Crocodile, and he's just, you know, he's lit the fires and, you know, poked the tiger and poured salt on the right wounds, and all the other analogies you can think of. But basically, he's gotten tensions up to where now they're both good peoples and they're killing each other. So, so whatever this plan winds up being, she's talking about we just need a few seconds, or if we can just stop it for at least a few seconds to let everybody hear, you know, so whatever this plan is, it's obviously trying to make everybody aware of like, hey, you're being duped. That is, I guess, something we'll find out in the coming chapters, and it winds up ending with a shot of the palace, and of course, you know, people from the rebels that have now approached the palace, it seems like, and they're like, oh, in the palace, so they're now going to attack the palace, it seems like. So that is how the chapter leaves off. Certainly a great start to a volume. You know, it's pretty cool again, and I apologize for, you know, wasting all that time with the backwards nonsense at first. But, you know, mistakes happen. I do really think that this is cool, though, and might look into, you know, eventually doing maybe like a double-sided type of deal like that, which would be a really cool thing, but take quite some time to do so. I do not know. Anyway, my chapter question, though, is, and I like to ask these just to kind of interact with everybody and get everybody interacting with each other. But as far as my chapter question, did I kind of hit the nail on the head with that? What do you think about Sanji's, I thought was a profound thing when he said it's what's on the inside? This is the type of stuff that you hear growing up, and you think, oh my God, really? It's if I just believe in it, it can come true, and, you know, that sort of thing. And it's what's on the inside that counts, and that's what people tell you, at least have told me all throughout my life. So who knows, maybe because the outside is not very good. But my point being is that what do you think about that? Because I thought that it was very profound what he said, but then he followed it up with the, like, you know, I'm an idiot that can't keep it in my pants because I saw a woman with breasts, you know. So weigh in on that and let me know what your thoughts are on it, brothers and sisters. Leave your answers to that question, that sort of vague, out of focus, long-ass question, in the comments down below, would you? Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button, if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Right? Why not? Anyway, we look forward to catching you in the next one, nation.
This is the first picture of Nami I ever draw. She is very beautiful to me, so I hope you like it too. What the hell now? Damn it, enough is enough.